when I'm shaping stuff, I would toss cookies. Typically, they have to be visible though, and non-crumbly. No bits everywhere, okay? So teaching the turns and teaching the drive on the turns is very, very important for the dogs. When with the wee puppies, like the lab and stuff, they're just too young to do that right now, but you could teach the concept of going around something and shaping that versus necessarily working turns. Okay, I really don't start turns probably until, there's people that probably do them a lot earlier than me, but I don't do them before 6 to 7 months, be the earliest, but I teach all of the initial work on barrels and things like that where they're not turning tight. Right? There's no speed, they're just really learning the concept, and that's where I teach my word for the direction.
And what are your words, if you don't mind?
Turn and see. They have no reference. But when I first started teaching directionals, those were the first 2 words I came up with. And so since then, I haven't been able to change them because now they're ingrained, right? But when I first taught them, they had no meaning. It was very hard for me to remember what direction was what. Now I don't even think about it.
So you said they're usually 6, 7 months when you start putting up words to it.
No, when I start asking for when I start working tight turns.
Then when you put the word to it.
No, I put the word to the direction. So when I'm going around my barrel or garbage can, I start to put the word there, even though it's not a true tight turn, but they really work the mechanics of the tight turn once we start to transition that skill to a smaller object that they are really turning, or to a wing, or a set of wings, right? So I'm very careful about doing it too young. The smaller dogs can do it earlier because their growth is finished earlier, right? But the big dogs, they don't need to do it that young, but they need to understand the concepts, because then it's easier when you actually teach them what a tight turn is, or what a collected turn is. I should say collected, not tight.
So, one of the things, I hope I'm not doing it wrong, but when I'm trying to teach her the tight turn, I have the cookie, and I have her, put the bar on an angle, and I have her go around and I read word around the floor.
So when I'm teaching tight turns, there's no bars involved to begin with. It's all around another
I
object.
already have her going around the picky.
Okay. Okay, so remember with your dog, the degree of tight turn required is not going to be a true tight turn per se, because she's little. Okay, so if you think about it, the way you're working a turn, what size will she jump? 6?
No, she should be 8.
Okay, so it is an 8-inch bar. So she has to go all the way around here. So a true tight turn, right? Like the big dogs, they're almost landing that distance out and coming around. So it's not that it isn't tight, but I would call it a collected turn versus tight. Tight is a bit of a misnomer. Again, with the collected turn. Because some dogs are going to be wider, but with a nice collected turn, because that suits their size, their structure, whatever. Okay? But really, the degree of you have to decide if you're teaching it to always mean a wrap back, or if you're using that word to mean a collected turn, and I'm going to tell you which direction we're going out of it. Alright, so some people, when they teach a collected turn, or tight turn, it always means wrap back. And then some people, which is how I use it, it means collect tight, but we could be going that way after. Because I might want to collect a turn, but we're coming out this way.
So location of my body is going to tell her.
So what I'm doing after, versus if I'm standing back here asking for a collected turn, I expect a wrap back. Okay, so, but there are some people that are very strict about that. I just feel we put a lot of training to tight turns to only have it being used for one location. That doesn't make sense to me. Versus when I want the collected turn, but I might be on the takeoff, the landing side of the jump, it's still a collected turn, it's not an extension. It still requires the same amount of collection, but we're executing differently. Then I use the same word. Okay, I'm not talking a soft turn, which is more relative collection, but when I basically want the same amount of collection, but I'm not always always wrapping back. So that's something that you have to decide. Do you want it that strict or not? Okay, that's a personal choice. Okay, too many words, right? Like,
I am totally lost.
so I would pretty much just, what I recommend is have one cue for collected turn. I need the dog to collect. If I'm sending you forward and I'm back here, you need to wrap. If I'm asking for collection, but I'm moving on to the landing side, because I'm doing a landing side front cross, I still need collection, but I might be moving there, not necessarily wrap back. It just gives you more flexibility in the use of the cue. Okay? That's my opinion. I mean, otherwise you've got to get too complicated about, is it really this here because the dog's not wrapping back? And it kind of looks like it, but they're actually going a little bit wider to the tunnel. Like, seriously. Right? I want the same turn, I'm going to use the same word.
Yeah.
Okay. One word. Well, two words. But for you, some of you guys, it's just dig, check. That's all you need, collection. And then when I'm moving forward into a front cross on the landing side, I would use the same word, because I still need collection, unless I'm really far out from the jump. Sometimes I'm not, I just need a collected turn there. Okay, so teach it on different obstacles, objects. So I use different, see in here, but I use different size objects. Like I have smaller garbage cans, I have bigger garbage cans, and really I'm teaching the direction of the turn first with the word, and the idea of going around. Okay, so the younger the dog, the less small it needs to be, so they're not putting too much stress in their body. Right? Then when I transfer it from there, I transfer it to either you guys have your wingless stanchions. You can work that, but be careful because that can teach them to come too tight. Right? And so you've seen those dogs that hit the stanchions with their heads, shoulders, right? So I'm very careful with that. So a lot of times when I'm putting it on a wing jump, because your wings can vary a lot in size, you have to think about that as well. So instead of having my wing like this, your wings won't do it. I often do this way. Okay? So your wings are square, but a lot of the ones I have are angled, so they look different to the dog. But this way I want it to always be the same, so that I can work the dog understanding about the turn from either direction. Some people will also, these, again, it won't work so much with these because the feet will do pretend this one foot's not here. Okay, so that's your wing. We'll do it kind of like this. Alright, so that when you're working turns, you're not coming too tight around here, you're actually keeping yourself out of it. So you just want to be a little bit careful with what you're teaching the dog, letting the dog rehearse. So if they're always coming in tight, you have to be careful because that can lead to problems down the road. Okay? With your back to your question about teaching it, did you teach it on a wing?
I started on, I know it sounds weird, but I took my planter and turned it upside down because the bottom is bigger. So I moved her from a coffee can, she's so little. So I took her from a coffee can to a planter, and then I did the stanchion, and then I took her to a wing.
Okay.
So the wing, she seems like she's going much slower, so I don't know if something.
Because it's no longer the same turn for your dog. Because she's coming around fast and having to go out